RCEvilEmpire.com. We like to bring you some of the people involved in the RC industry. Today we're with Dale Epp from PROTOform. Dale is a master mold maker of touring car bodies, especially. He's been in the business for many, many years. How you doing today, Dale?
Real good, real good. Nice to spend some time with you guys.
Great. So how did you get involved with PROTOform originally? I mean, what's your background in mold making?
Well, I kind of got into it backwards, so to speak. I've been a car nut all my life. I worked at General Motors for 10 years, and then worked in the car dealerships and management, and then suddenly a big recession hit our area, and unemployment was 18%, and I had to do something. I was out of work.
Sounds familiar. What do you think of the big car dealership catastrophe these days and what's going on in Detroit?
It kind of breaks my heart because there was a time where their product wasn't good, but it is really good product these days for probably the last 4 or 5 years, and so it's a kind of shame.
Yeah, I imagine since you worked in that industry, it's kind of a downer.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, I found myself out of work, and one day I walked into a magazine store and I picked up the radio control car action. I've never seen it before. Flipped it open, and here is this picture of that track in Florida that's long gone, but it's called Lake Whippoorwill. They had all these stock cars lined up around this oval, and I just kind of freaked out because I love cars, I love racing. I was really into NASCAR back then, and I thought, man, that's neat. I'd like to somehow get involved in that. And I noticed the bodies didn't look very good. They were kind of a little bit too generic looking for me, so I thought, I'm going to give this a shot. So I kind of stumbled and, made a lot of mistakes, but eventually I got some molds made, and the people liked my product, and it seemed to work pretty good, and that was the start.
Now, what some don't know is, PROTOform on the tag and everything says that it's a California company, but you are based out of Canada, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I still live in Ontario, Canada. It was probably about 4 years into my new occupation that I met the guys from Proline, and it was really a good marriage because I got along good with the guys, and they kind of had the same view on racing and on life in general, and it freed me up to do just design work and not worry about hiring and firing and promotion and shipping and all those things that bore me to death.
So you pretty much stick to your strengths and what you're best at, which is mold making, of course.
Yeah, exactly. That was the whole purpose for us getting together.
And when you make the molds, do you do that on a computer, or is it all by hand? Or do you go get like the real car, or go down to a dealership or a racetrack and kind of like look at it and decide where you're going to tweak it for RC cars, more or less?
Well, the only involvement my computer has is I download a lot of pictures.
Sure.
And I kind of print them out sometimes, and I stare at them a lot and try to catch the spirit of the original designer's design. But really the bodies are more determined by the parameters of the rules for the width and the height and the length and all those things. That determines so much of the outcome of the body. As far as the actual shaping, I try to make it look like a real car, especially if it needs to be a licensed body, and only kind of fudge as far as I kind of have to go in order to make it work.
Do you actually have a design team, or are you just doing everything solo?
I'm the guy.
From beginning to end.
From beginning to end. My son is the graphics guy. We work pretty close together. He does all the decal sheets, so the headlights and grills and all that stuff. He does all the most of Proline's graphic work as well. But other than that, the actual molds, I did that myself.
As far as painting goes, RC car painting, are you skilled at that as well? Because we know you're a master mold maker, but some might think, well, the guy who makes the molds must be like one of the best painters or something. Do you paint at all? Or?
No, I don't paint at all. I do lay out a lot of the paint schemes for the 2 or 3 different painters that I use. When I first got in business back in 1992, I didn't know any painters, so I did all of my own paint jobs.
Wow.
When I went to the first trade show in Chicago, everything that was there, pretty much everything was out of my own shop. But I would like to be able to paint more. It's just not enough hours in the day.
Sure. How do you use data from your team drivers to work it into the design of the bodies that you're designing? Do you come up with like a prototype and have like one molded off and then give it to some pro drivers and they try it and say, hey, I don't like what this is doing and that's doing? Or what's that process exactly? What kind of feedback do they give you? It's
fairly rare that I actually change molds after the fact. And a lot of that's just got to do with business. If I was ahead of schedule, it would be one thing. I try to do more of that, but I'm always behind schedule. if I've got a weakness, I'm kind of very anal and very slow at finishing these things, you know.
Yeah.
And so, by the time I actually put the finishing touches on a mold, I'm hoping like crazy that it works exactly the way it does, because we got to get this thing into the marketplace. But over the 17 years, I think I've changed a mold maybe 3 times or something like that. And I like moved the splitter back a little bit in the front to take a little bit of, you know, like steering out of a body or things like that. But I do listen to what my drivers are saying.
Yeah, that's always good.
I listen to what they're saying, and I always kind of store it away in the back of my mind so that the next time I do a new body, I'll be able to try to apply something that I've learned from those guys.
Now, one of the racing classes, an on-return car that's been really coming up now is RCGT. A lot of people in Southern California in particular are running RCGT, which is basically a treaded HPI tire with sports car bodies like NSXs and other ones like that. Hot bodies and Tamiya seem to be the most popular ones. We don't really see much representation from PROTOform. Is that something you guys are looking to do in the future?
Yeah, I really want to get involved in it. I've been really out of the loop just because I'm so far removed from Southern California, and I haven't been following these things on some of the RC websites like I should have. And I've really enjoyed the last 2 days of watching them run. I just think they're great, and it takes a little bit back to where it was when Tamiya started the whole thing with realistic-looking 4-wheel drive cars. And so I'm pretty stoked about getting some product out there.
What else do we see on the horizon from PROTOform in terms of new products or new ideas and stuff?
Well, I've got a new 12-scale body that is almost finished. 12-scale cars have gotten to kind of a gray area where they don't really look a lot like any kind of a real car. And there's people in the rules making end of things over in Europe that really want to bring some realism in, but the racers don't want the realism. They just want to go fast.
Yeah.
So I've come up with a new style, and I'm hoping that it's going to be a happy medium, and people in Europe will like me again. And and so that's the next thing I've got done. And then I'm trying to go into some areas that I'm not involved in right now, like some of the Tamiya minis. They're very popular. I'm going to do some bodies for minis. And I've noticed a real interest in Formula One around the whole globe. HPI's got a brand new
So does Tamiya, yeah.
And Tamiya just released an anniversary edition of the old one, and then an all-new 104, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to do that. I've got a real interest in Formula One this year, now that they've got these new rules, and the whole, pecking order has been shuffled around a lot in Formula One. I'm really enjoying watching it.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us today, Dale. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Best of luck to you guys in the future.
Oh, I appreciate you giving me a chance to share my thoughts.
Oh, no problem. Thanks a lot.